I hope you are having an amazing day. Today I wanted to do another Q&A video. I think these are so fun to film and I love watching them, and I have been going through my emails and there are so many that I know that so many other people will be able to relate to, and I think it's a shame that I'm the only one that gets to read them. And of course I'll never share anything personal or private, but a lot of the emails I get 100 times because everyone is struggling with the same things. So that's why I really wanted to do a Q&A, and I will be doing quite a few of them. I don't know, I just think they're fun. Let me know what you think. I also feel like a bit of a weirdo. So I bought this, what is this? A jumper this week. It's getting a little chilly in Brisbane. Not actually too bad in the whole scheme of how cold the world gets, but in terms of Brisbane cold, it's getting a bit chilly. So I went and bought this jumper from Maya, and I swear to God, I did not steal this. They forgot to take off the security tag because I was just chatting to the lady that was putting it through, and she just forgot. And then I got home and I planned to wear it, and then I put it on and I was like, damn, now I have to go back with my receipt. And I know that's not a real problem, but it is an inconvenience. So I have to go back this week and get this damn thing removed. But you can only see here up, so I thought I would wear it anyway because it's super comfy. I also just had a bowl of Wheat Bix and it's 2 p.m. because I couldn't find anything to eat for lunch, and you know, I had avocado toast for breakfast, and so I figure if my breakfast was kind of a lunch meal, I can have breakfast food for lunch. Does anyone else do that? Am I the only one? Anyway, that's just where I'm at right now. So I will read this email. It is about routine and transitioning, essentially it's about specifically, I think, about transitioning from school, but it applies to any transition, and I definitely have a lot of personal experience and can really relate to this email, and I think you probably can too. I get so many emails about it. So let me read you the email and then I will share my thoughts. I have written a few notes based on what I would say, just so it's in a more structured order, but I'm really just going to answer it how I would actually answer this if we were chatting. So the email, it says, I just started working this year. Oh yeah, so it's from like college, uni to work. I just started working this year and I'm finding it so difficult to adjust to this new... Why am I reading like a complete retard? Let me start again. I just finished working this year and I'm finding it difficult to adjust to this new life and to get everything done well and on time. In school, this was not a problem and I got through everything flawlessly. Well, I cannot relate to that, but good for you. However, I have always thought that I need to get my life into a routine, especially a morning routine, in order to become more efficient and ultimately more successful. I have tried multiple times, but it never lasts more than 3 days. So I could say this is not a 6-month struggle, but more of a life struggle. With my recent problems adjusting to work life, I feel like a routine is exactly what I need right now in order to keep slaying. Damn. And then she's just said, summarize, I need to get into a routine that I can stick to get my life in order and to cope with the changes in my life. Thanks for the time to read this. I hope to hear from you soon. So this is my reply, a whole video. I can totally relate to having that really messy feeling when you are transitioning from either school to uni or uni to work or work to now I'm transitioning to essentially being my own boss. There's a struggle with each of those, and I think, I don't know, I love routine. I love exciting stuff in my life, but it's kind of nice to know what's coming up and to not constantly feel like you have to make a million decisions. I think that's really it, because when you have a routine, you're not constantly like, oh, what will I wear? What will I eat? Who will I see? When will I see them? Like, it's just very draining having to make a lot of decisions. I think, like, I know when I'm traveling, which I also love traveling so much, and I've done quite a bit of it, but I always get that travel fatigue, and I think it is really just decision fatigue and making a lot of big and small decisions in a very condensed period of time, which is why it's always good to plan in some rest, but that is a different video. This is a routine video. So I've written down a few things that I think are really important when it comes to routine and how to get that feeling of routine back if you have lost it. Sounds like she probably did have a routine based on her being able to do everything flawlessly. That's just my presumption, but I feel like, you know, there needs to be some kind of structure so you don't have to make a lot of shitty decisions. If you can't tell, I don't like having to make a lot of decisions because it does drain the shit out of me. So I've written a few things. The first is to anchor the day. So what I mean by that is, if you have that really messy feeling and you haven't gotten into a new routine yet, the very first thing I do to get myself into a new routine, I did this very recently when I transitioned out of full-time work into working part-time and then blogging for my main job. So cool. Is I still pinch myself about that. So cool. Is setting or choosing one thing every day that's going to be consistent. I essentially made it two things, but the real one was waking up at 6 a.m. every day. So when I was first trying to get into a routine, I need to see if this is recording. Okay. When I was first getting into a routine, you know, there's always that messy period, and it's important to give yourself permission for things to feel a bit uneasy and, you know, just get back into routine. But I was waking up at different times and still playing around with everything, and there were so many moving parts that nothing felt consistent. So I decided on 6 a.m. as my wake up time for every day. The only time I wake up the only day I wake up is, let's do third time. Third. The only days I wake up at a different time is on the weekend. On Saturday mornings I wake up at 5 because I do a workout at 6 and I have to drive 30 minutes to get there, and it takes a while to get myself awake. So I wake up at 5 on Saturday mornings, and on Sundays I sleep in. But weekdays it was 6 a.m. and that was just so I had some kind of consistency and a plan, and I didn't have to make that decision, and I could kind of work with, okay, so I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, then what does it look like from there? And it doesn't have to be waking up at a certain time. It can be as simple as making the bed, like just not even a time-based activity, but just doing something every day. So that could be like doing meditation every day. It could be washing your face every day. It could be eating a certain thing for breakfast every day. I just try and find something that will be consistent every day to try and create that sense of consistency, because once you have some form of routine, no matter how small, I do find it's easier to add to it. Instead of going from nothing to everything, I like at least having some kind of anchor. I do find waking up at a certain time, and it doesn't have to be early. It can be whatever time. Say if you would normally wake up between 8 and 10, you just decide that you're going to set an alarm for 9 a.m. every morning or something like that. It doesn't need to involve necessarily creating a new habit or anything like that. And I don't know that transitions are the best time to create habits. In my experience, it's harder to create a sustainable habit when I'm also dealing with a lot of change, but I will do a different video about that. So I think just having something to anchor the day, it doesn't have to be a new habit. I'd recommend probably against it. Like if you don't normally wake up early, it either could, like it's hard for me to say, like, this could be a good time now that you have a completely different routine to actually get in the habit of waking up early, or it could be that trying to wake up early will slow you down with getting that sense of routine. You will have to play around with it yourself. Unfortunately, that is the way all of this works. But creating some form of anchor, and it can be extremely, extremely simple. Which leads me to my second point, which is if you are trying to create a routine, particularly she mentioned a morning routine, I would really recommend making it as simple and minimal as possible. I know that if you are a perfectionist, you want it to be the most amazing, probably at least an hour long routine. I totally get it. I have done that myself and find myself always wanting to go back there. My recommendation from my experience is to build it so you have your anchor, and to go from there and just add 2 or 3 things, not 10 or 20. I do have a free guide that you can download about how to create a morning routine, and in that guide I do encourage simplicity, and have recommendations for the different kinds of things that you can have in your morning routine and what I've found worked and all of that sort of stuff. So I will link that below if you want to get that free guide for how to create a morning routine in 7 days. But the more simple the better, because I think like habits or anything, you just have to, at least in my experience with my mindset, I know everyone's different, but creating the simple version and then adding to it, even though it feels like that's not going to get me to my goal fast enough, it always gets me to my goal quicker than trying to do everything at once. Because as she mentioned in the email, and I'm saying she, by the way, because I didn't ask for permission to share her name. I kind of just decided today, I was like, oh, it'd be fun to film some videos to answer my email questions, but I get so much personal information. I didn't want to just say, even though it's a very common name, I don't know, I get these replies based on me not sharing them, so I don't want to share, I don't know, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying she, but I will be from now on replying to people and asking if I can share their name, because I would like to do that. But that is why for at least these first Q&A videos, I'm just saying she. So she said that she has tried multiple times, but it never lasts for more than 3 days, and hasn't shared any more information about what she tried. And if I was chatting to her, that is definitely what I would be asking. But I am going to guess that it was probably quite elaborate and perfect, and would recommend really starting with something more simple, which I know kills perfectionists if we have to start small, but it gets you to your goal so much quicker, way more sustainable. And once you just have something and then you just keep adding, it is so much easier to stick with it than to try and change 20 default settings. Because I like to think of, when you're creating a habit and all of that, you currently have certain default settings in terms of how you do things based purely on what you have practiced doing. So if you practice looking at your phone whenever you feel bored, you will continue to do that until you give your brain something different to do in that situation. And if you are trying to create a really elaborate morning routine or lots of different habits at once, you are trying to change all your default settings at once, and it is a lot to handle and process, and it can definitely be done. But I really just find it is easier to change one default setting at once, and then once you get momentum, to build from there. I have tried the full on, like I spent years trapped in this struggle of trying to do really elaborate things and then giving up, and then trying again and giving up. When I look at it in hindsight, I would have gotten what I was aiming for much quicker if I had done it in a more simple, sustainable approach, which my all or nothing perfectionist mentality didn't want me to do. But once I really learned the lesson and could see it working, that is how I have created a lot of healthy habits that I have now. It sounds so simple, but being really simple about it and building things up and going from there. Like starting this YouTube channel, I didn't try to do a really elaborate lighting setup, as you can tell, because it's now like the sun is glaring. Oh, just changed. To start, I am just filming on my laptop with natural light in my bedroom. This is as tech as it gets. I'm just on QuickTime, or previous me, old me, would have wanted to have a perfect lighting setup, camera, backdrop. That I quite like. I don't know. I quite like this setup, but yeah, I would have procrastinated with that, and I would have made it so elaborate that I would never actually end up doing it. So I am learning a lot from those kinds of experiences and actually practice this stuff that I am sharing. This is a perfect example of doing it simple and building from there. And my final thought on this, though I could shit on for ages, is that it is best to expect resistance and to know that even if you follow all the advice I have given you about keeping it simple, and yeah, that's the main advice, and creating an anchor, you will probably at the 3-day mark still forget or not have time, or whatever way essentially it comes up for you that you end up slipping off your habit. So just to expect that, and then when it comes, be like, oh, there it is. I don't feel like doing my morning routine, but I am going to do it anyway. And yeah, really not expecting yourself to feel like doing it. You are changing your brain, and it is designed to be efficient and to think the same things and do the same things over and over again. So it does take mental energy to get into a new habit, and it doesn't really matter that that habit is positive or negative. The brain doesn't really care. It just wants to be good at what it's doing. So yeah, I really recommend expecting resistance, expecting that on day 4 or day 3, you're going to wake up and be like, I don't really feel like I have time to read that book or to make breakfast or to do whatever it is you want in your new routine. But to just say, oh, there it is, the resistance, but I am going to do it anyway. So what I do, I do that all the time, with these YouTube videos. I don't always feel excited about sitting in front of this camera, and because I'm like, oh, what if I say things and it sound weird or it's not helpful, and I have that self-doubt, and I just say to myself, oh, there it is, I'm going to do it anyway. And yeah, I found for me that's one of the most helpful ways to move on and get on with things that I want to do, because if I listen to that doubt and that resistance, I end up doing nothing, and then I don't even end up feeling better about myself because I just feel guilty and unproductive. So they are my advice. That is my advice. If you have anything you'd like me to do a video about and any questions you'd like me to answer, please send me an email. My address is sam@smart-20s, TWENTIES.com. That is all I have to say. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I share a new video every single day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.